Oh my gosh, I'm already a junior and I don't know what I'm doing. What classes even matter? What extracurriculars do I even need? How do I even get into a good medical school?
Hi everyone, welcome back to Myopia Control Club, where we talk about eyes and myopia, share stories, and learn some cool stuff along the way. I'm Olivia, and I'm super excited to talk with Kaitlyn Lee today, a four-year OD student at UC Berkeley and a person who's passionate about myopia management and helping people take care of their eyes. As someone who's also curious about eye health and optometry, I can't wait to learn what life is like as a student doctor and what inspired her journey. Welcome, Caitlin.
Nice to meet you, Olivia. I'm glad to be here.
Now, quick question before we jump in. If you had one superpower as an optometry student, for example, like instantly memorizing anatomy or never leaving you sleep, what would it be?
I think for me, the most powerful superpower that I could have would be knowing exactly how to relate to a patient when it comes to doing patient education. I found that lots of patients understand different things in many different ways. And so I'm always trying to learn or improve how I do my patient education, telling them more about their diagnosis and the treatment and help them understand it. And I guess my superpower would be being able to know how they like to be taught and to be able to just share the exact right things so they can understand.
Yeah, that'll be great. Like knowing what they think so you can just what you say so they can best understand it. What first got you interested in optometry? Was there a specific moment where you knew that this was something you wanted to do? For example, maybe a patient or an experience that really inspired you?
Yeah, I think it actually wasn't like a light switch on, but it was kind of a gradual buildup over time. So going into high school and after graduating high school, I knew that was interested in both healthcare and in business. In high school, I was always really heavily involved in both of those kind of clubs or different career paths. And then going into college, I was a mathematics and a biology major, but I also got a business administration minor. So again, I kind of had this feeling like I was battling two interests or two loves and like trying to figure out what I wanted to do after graduating from college. And I remember I was part of a pre-health organization, and they organized a panel of healthcare professionals who were not MDs. And it was really interesting because they had like a dentist, they had an optometrist, they had a PT, an OT, and I think like a physician's assistant. And I remember one question that they asked was, if you could go back in undergrad and take another class, what class would you take? And I remember everyone saying like, "Oh, I wouldn't really take anything because they teach you everything you need to know in grad school," which I would say has been true for the most part. But the optometrist was the only person who said, "Oh, I wish I took a business course," and um, she said that because a lot of the times optometrists will open their own private practices, and grad school doesn't always teach you. The business side of opening your own private practice. That side, you kind of need to find a mentor or figure it out yourself. And so that's when I found it kind of sparked my interest. And so from there, I put more effort into shadowing at multiple optometry offices and interning at an optometry office. And I'll be honest, I didn't love it right away. At first, I thought it was a little bit boring. But as I became more exposed to different types of private practices and different modalities of optometry, it was something that I became very interested in because um, optometry is even though it's like a focused field on eyes, even when you enter it, there are so many different paths you can take, and people don't realize it. They just think like, oh, optometry is like private practice. You just work with eyes all day, which that's true, but like even within working with eyes, there are so many different specialties. There's low vision where you can work with patients who have poor vision and help them adapt with different devices for daily activities. You can work with myopia control, which is mostly pediatric patients. Um, you can work in pediatrics, like working with toddlers and infants. There's even like I know a pediatric doctor who works just with special needs kids. You can work in medical optometry, which is like doing a lot of glaucoma, seeing a lot of ocular disease. Um, there is like binocular vision, which includes like vision therapy, which is like physical therapy but for your eyes. There's so many different specialties within optometry that you can practice in. And then also on top of that, there are so many different ways that you can practice optometry. There is private practice. You can teach at an institution. You can do research. You can consult for industry companies. Um, or you can do a combination of any of the above. So the more I learned about it, the more I just saw that there is so much flexibility, really good work-life balance. Um, you spent a lot of time with your patients instead of only seeing your patients for like 5 minutes and then you go on to the next patient. You actually get to spend like 30 minutes to sometimes an hour with patients. You get to see them on a more regular basis. Um, yeah, so all to say, the spark was kind of me finding out that optometry was not as narrow of a path as I initially thought it was.
Yeah, that's a lot of pathways. I wanted to do optometry, but I never knew that there were so many pathways that you could take, and there's so many different roles that you could take on within optometry. Say you want to be in charge of want to help people control their myopia.
Yeah, I actually grew up as a product of myopia control. So when I first started needing glasses, instead of getting glasses first, I actually was just started on ortho K or orthokeratology, also known as a type of lens is known as a CRT lens or corneal refractive therapy. These are special hard lenses that you sleep in overnight, and it's kind of like a retainer, like for your teeth, but instead of a retainer for your teeth, it's for your eyes and it helps mold that front surface of your eye called the cornea, and it helps you see during the day without needing any correction. And so I really benefited that from that as a child because I played basketball. I was in show choir, so that's like dancing and singing. I just lived a very active life, and I didn't realize it then, but now looking back in retrospect, it really gave me a lot of confidence and a lot of freedom to just do all the activities that I did during the day without having to worry about glasses or worry about contacts during the day. Um, and so, yeah, as I started optometry, myopia control was something that I was interested in and has still been a continual interest throughout the rest of my years here. And now I'm in my last year. And so, yes, it is something that I am passionate about because um, it's so special that myopia control is one of the things in optometry that is a preventative way of treating myopia, whereas um, as I've done more and more years of optometry, I realize a lot of things are more reactive and not necessarily preventative. Like a lot of diseases like glaucoma or macular degeneration, you're just waiting to see if it gets worse. Whereas myopia control, there's something that you can proactively do from keeping it to keep it from getting worse.
Wow. So you were myopic as a kid. So what was your first reaction now when you know when you first found out how widespread myopia is, especially among kids?
Yeah, I think when I first heard the statistic of in by 2050, about 50% of the world's population will be myopic, I did find it quite shocking. Um, and it does make sense now, learning more about just eyes in general, that, myopia, one of the risk factors for myopia is doing a lot of near work. So like computer, iPhone, iPad, and our society does a lot of that nowadays. And so it doesn't surprise me now, kind of learning more about the visual system. But at first it was quite shocking of like, wow, like it is a growing epidemic because myopia is a disease that can affect your eye health in many, many ways later on. So it's important to stop it from progressing early on.
Yeah, I was very shocked when I first found out about that too. I was like, oh my gosh, billions of people are going to be affected. And isn't it going to be like from years on, it's only going to be more technology? What can you do to prevent your eyesight from getting worse, especially in such a technology-based world?
Taking breaks. I know it's a very, very common piece of advice that a lot of optometrists give, but one way that you could recommend it is doing 20-20-20 breaks. So every 20 minutes, look 20 feet away for 20 seconds. I've also heard like every hour, take a 5 to 10 minute break, and like walk around, look outside. Um, the risk factor for doing a lot of near work is that your eyes become almost engaged in this hyper-focused state. And so it's important to take breaks to let your eyes relax and look far away, like look into the infinity, look far into the distance, to prevent your eyes from getting locked into that hyper-focused state.
So whenever I'm in contact with technology, try to keep like a distance so my eyes take on less strain.
hmm Yeah,
Oh,
if you're curious, there's even an iPhone setting where it can track your working distance or your screen distance. I think it's called the screen distance setting, and it'll give you a warning if you're putting your phone too close to your face.
oh yeah. I try to keep that turned on, and sometimes it requires me to smile at my camera in order for it to like stop telling me that I'm too close, even when I put my phone away. And for myopia, what are some symptoms of myopia?
I would say the major symptom of myopia would be seeing blurry far away but clear up close.
I see. Because I've also heard online that some people say when you have myopia, you also have headaches. Is that true? Or is it just like a myth?
I mean, within the visual system, there's lots of different things that can cause headaches. I would say headaches are typically more associated with being farsighted and less with nearsightedness.
I see. Why would headaches be more specific to farsightedness instead of nearsightedness? Is it a different part of your eye or brain?
That's not a different part of your eye or brain. Um, it's a different way that your eyes are made. So essentially, if you can imagine like this being the front of your eye and this being the back of the eye, when you're myopic, your eye's a little bit longer. So when light rays pass into your eye, like so into the front of your eye, and this is the back of your retina, it ends up focusing in front of the retina, which is why it looks blurry. And there's no way that your eye can compensate to make those light rays focus on your retina, which is why you need glasses. And for farsighted eyes, they're a little bit smaller. And so when light focuses into it, because it's too small, light actually focuses behind the retina in the back. Um, I know this is also really hard to explain over video, but if you look up like on Google, like myopia versus hyperopia focusing, like light focusing, there should be some diagrams that kind of show what I'm doing. But when you're farsighted, your eye is a little bit smaller typically, and the light rays focus behind the eye. But because our eyes have the ability to accommodate or focus, there's a structure inside your eye called the lens that can kind of get chubby or skinny to help you bring things forward. And so the lens kind of can compensate for the light rays focusing behind your eyes and bring those light rays focused exactly on the retina. So people who have mild to moderate amounts of farsightedness, their eyes can focus to bring the light rays exactly on the retina, but because your eyes are constantly working, your muscles are constantly engaged to do that, it can cause headaches.
I see. And you mentioned about like light refraction. How does glasses help with like refracting light to where you're into the eyeball where it's supposed to be?
Yeah, so there are different types of lenses. I'm sure you've learned of convex and concave lenses. And essentially, con cave lenses will focus, will bend light a little bit more out. It will diverge light. So because in myopia, the light rays are focused in front of the retina, when you put a concave lens, it diverges the light rays a little bit. So instead of them converging like right here, it hits the lens, it diverges a little bit out, so then it focuses a little bit further back so that it can be exactly on the retina. And then convex lenses are the opposite.
I see. So is there a moment with a patient that taught you something important or made you laugh?
I think it would be a culmination of interactions I've had with many patients. Um, a thing that I've experienced being in clinic now for a year and a half, during my third year and now halfway into my fourth year almost, is that you get to hear stories from your patients about the good optometrists they had, but also the bad optometrists they had. And so optometrists really have it's like every time you see a patient, you have the opportunity, to almost like write a sentence in somebody's storybook. And it could be neutral, it could be turning their life in a negative way, or it can turn their life in a positive trajectory. Um, I've had patients, that have had really negative experiences with their optometrist, or, the optometrist treated something in a way that ended up harming their eyes later down the line. And I've also heard about people who've had great experiences where they're like, I love my optometrist, or I love this person, I only want to see this person. And so I think it's been really meaningful as I've started to see more and more patients to know that. Even if it is only 30 minutes to an hour that I'm spending with the patient, I have the opportunity to make a very positive impact in someone's
So
life.
you've said that some people have had really bad experiences with optometrists. What would it take for, what traits would it take for one to be a good optometrist? Would it be to, like, for example, understand their patient?
I think honestly there are so many different aspects that can go into making a great optometrist. The ones that specifically come to mind right now is one being competent. Um, you know, Patients, most of the time just remember what their experience was, like their personal experience was with optometrists, like how easily the conversation flowed, how personable they were. But the part that they don't see is, how hard their optometrist studied, or how well they know the material, or how much they keep up with current research and the current practices. So I think one aspect is being really competent because you can be the nicest person, but if you don't know the correct practice patterns or how to treat certain things properly, you can end up harming your patient more than helping them. Something else that also really sets a great optometrist apart is one that is a really good listener. Not just because it helps you connect with the patient, but also when you listen and when you ask good questions, you get to know a lot more about how patients use their eyes and what their lifestyle is so that you can cater your care towards them to really fit their lifestyle and fit their visual needs.
I noticed how one of your traits that you said was being knowledgeable of your information. What's a misconception that kids or parents often have, and how do you help them know more about it and clear up their understanding?
So I've had parents come in and say, if I get them my daughter or son glasses, or is it going to cause their eyes to be dependent on the correction? Is it going to make their eyesight worse by correcting it? And the answer is research says no. It's actually really important to be properly corrected, especially with myopia, because some of the some of the mechanisms in which myopia control works for all the different methods isn't completely proven. We just know that it works. But we do know that there is something with the signaling of the eyes, and signaling of, where things focus in relation to the retina, which is the back surface of your eye. Like, do things focus in front or behind? Or right on the retina, which is ideally where we want it. But wearing the correct glasses correction is actually really important for not making somebody's eyesight worse. So the misconception of wearing glasses makes your eyesight worse is very false.
So wearing glasses helps your eyesight. What about the kids or teens that don't like wearing glasses? What alternatives do they have?
Yeah, so for kids and teens, I know two specific myopia control modalities that are available to them that are not glasses. One would be ortho-K lenses, or the CRT lenses that I mentioned earlier, the ones that I wore as a kid. Those are hard contact lenses that reshape the front surface of your eye, and you sleep with the contacts in at night, and in the morning you take them off, and then you're corrected during the day. Another one is a multifocal soft contact lens. Those contact lenses you do wear during the day, And you just wear them all day, and they have myopia control technology within it to try to signal your eye to slow down the growth of the eye.
Ah, I see. And if someone watching this wanted to start protecting their eyes today, what's one thing you'll recommend?
I mean, I think the biggest things that people can do right now would be the ones that I mentioned earlier, like making sure you take breaks. And then also making sure that you can try to increase your working distance. I mean, for little children, things that you can do to help decrease their risk of myopia is just increase their outside play. Because, when they're playing outside, there's something about the sunlight, but also we know that when they're playing outside, they're usually focusing far away. So that also helps slow down the progression.
So, for example, you as a four-year OD student, would your day-to-day life mostly consist of being at the clinic?
Yes, as a current fourth year student, I usually have patient care from 8 a.m. until like th 4 to 4:30 p.m. Um, is a typical clinic day, and I work Monday through Friday.
A lot of us are also might be thinking about starting a career in science or healthcare. What advice would you give to students who plan to follow a path like yours?
Yeah, I would say the advice that I got and that I think was the most helpful for me at the time is really explore all your different options if you are considering. Like when I was in high school, I did like a health scholars program at a hospital where I worked on the weekends, and then in the evenings as well, and just like did volunteer work at a hospital where we did rotations through different areas of the hospital. I shadowed dentistry, I shadowed pharmacy, I shadowed optometry. It was a little bit tough to shadow MDs, but I talked to a couple of MDs. And so just really get to know the different options out there in terms of healthcare professions because there are so many options and like figure out why you really love a certain profession or why you maybe don't want to pursue a certain profession. I think that's what helped me the most, just getting experience, being exposed to all the different types of health careers that you could possibly do, and then figuring out what, best fit me, my personality, and my future goals.
Is MD myopia degree? What is MD?
Oh, MD is a medical school.
Wow. So, what classes would you recommend or what is important to take in high school? For example, like APs, honors, science. What would you recommend?
Like now being in grad school, I graduated high school in 2018, so it seems like a long time ago. I don't think there's anything specific that I would say, other than taking AP classes to challenge yourself. Yeah, I don't think there's anyone that I'd be like, you have to take this, or I would highly recommend taking it. Um, yeah, I would just say take things that interest you. I know also at some schools you may only have a limited option of AP classes to take. Yeah, so just take things that interest you, or take whatever is available to try to challenge yourself as a student.
I see, because I've heard many people say AP Chem or AP Bio is very helpful. And I've heard some people say that AP Language is also very helpful, so you can understand your patients better. Is that true?
Some people might hold that opinion and they wouldn't be wrong, but I personally don't remember anything specific from AP biology, AP chemistry, or AP language. So I would say um, no for me, but I guess one practical piece of advice I could give is you can look at the colleges that you're applying to and see which credits they do accept AP scores for. Because not all colleges accept the same type of AP credits. So if there's a certain university that you want to go to and you want to get some of your credits out of the way, then it might be good to like look up, what AP credits that they accept to be able to skip some courses in college.
I see. So, how do you see myopia care evolving over the next decade, and what role do you hope to play in the future?
Yeah, over the next decade, I think there will be a lot of advancements. Like myopia is always advancing. Something that just got like freshly announced, I think early last month was in the US market, FDA now approved the Stellus lens, which is a myopia control spectacle lens. So they're myopia control glasses. It was previously approved in Canada, but it wasn't approved in the US for the longest time. And so that I think will be a huge area of new research as, patients start getting prescribed them, and we see, the effects, long-term effects, and be able to compare it to the other different myopia control modalities within the US. In terms of how I hope to contribute to it, I'm currently applying to cornea contact lens residencies, so I hope to be able to contribute to some of that body of research in the myopia control field, and hopefully become better trained in the myopia control field, and hopefully long term be able to do myopia control at a private practice.
And I'm just going to have some quick and basically rapid fire questions. Just say the first thing that comes to your mind. What's a small habit that helps you survive optometry school?
I think making time to actually um, just enjoy the little things in life. I know something that I would used to do during periods of school that were really busy, where I needed to do clinic and then come home and, basically study the rest of the night. I would make sure to take 10, 15 minutes after getting home from clinic to just go for a walk or go for a run and be able to just like appreciate the nature. I know that sounds very corny, but little things that help me slow down, or just, really appreciating a good meal, or making time to meet up with a friend or study with a friend. Those little things really help me survive optometry school.
Oh, yeah, enjoying life, basically. And what's the best part about helping patients?
I think the best part about helping patients is just making their quality of life better. Um, them coming in and being like, hey, like I can't see, or hey, my eyes are really uncomfortable, and being able to be the person that, listens to them, takes care of their concerns, and, makes their life better. I think that's the best part about helping them.
That sounds really sweet. And Kaitlyn, thank you so much for joining us today. And it's been amazing to hear from your experiences and your passion of helping others. And for all the people that are watching, take care of your eyes today so you guys can see the greater things tomorrow. And follow Myopia Control Club for more insights. Thank you so much, Kaitlyn.
You're welcome.
Now I know what steps I can take. Time to start planning my future.